What's up guys, it's Andrew from Crispy Productions, and over the last 8 months or so, I've owned the Google Pixel 2 XL. So before this phone I had the iPhone 7, and it was a pretty big jump to switch from an iOS phone to an Android phone. Overall, I'm really happy that I made the switch. But in today's video, I'm going to answer if the Google Pixel 2 XL is still worth it in today's market. So to get things started, let's talk about the design. So in a retrospective, this phone has a sleek and new wave feel to it. The corners are smooth and rounded, and that top glass panel really gives it kind of an IKEA vibe. Speaking of the back, I really like it. I'm a really big fan of the white, black, Oreo, panda, whatever you want to call it, color scheme. I think it fits what Google's trying to go for with these phones really well. Now the whole body of this phone is coated in a matte texture. This kind of feels like plastic, but it is definitely very grippy. There's actually aluminum under this coating, so this phone is not made out of plastic. Also, all of the sides have this matte finish, which I really like. I really like seeing that thin white border when I'm looking at the screen. It looks very unique. Now don't worry about that glass panel. It's not gonna break. When I was buying this phone, I was a little bit concerned that this glass panel in the back would break, but it's very durable and it hasn't broken yet in the 8 months that I had the phone. So there's nothing to worry about there. Also on the back there's the fingerprint sensor, and I really like it. It's fast, accurate, and foolproof. When I had my iPhone 7, the Touch ID sensor worked for about 6 months, and then it just died on me. So it's good to see that this phone is 8 months old, and the Touch ID sensor is still going strong. I also really like the placement of the sensor. It's very natural just to lay your finger on it. I don't miss Touch ID at all. But yeah, overall, I'm a big fan of the design. It's really unique, and I like that. So moving on from the design, let's talk about the screen.
Yeah, j'attends que la marée noire monte, que les pluies soient acides, que le CO2 nous asphyxie quand la nuit s'épaissit. J'attends qu'il fasse chaud.
Now to be perfectly honest, I really don't think this screen is bad. It just needs minor tweakings. So when I first got the phone, the colors were dull and they were faded. But when I dug into the display settings, I found a saturated mode. This basically bumped the colors up to be more vibrant. And to me, this is a night and day difference. Now it is slightly too saturated for my taste, but it's totally fine. I guarantee you, if you turn the saturation up, you'll have no problems with the screen. Now the other problem that this phone had was color shifting. So when you turn the phone off axis, weird colors will pop up like pink and yellow hues. For me, this doesn't happen. This is because I have a slightly later Pixel 2 model, and Google did kind of fix that color issue on their later screens. But yeah, if you turn the saturation up and get lucky with the screen, you'll have no problems with it. So moving on from the screen, let's talk about the speakers. So there's a speaker on the top of the phone, which also acts as the earpiece, and there's a speaker on the bottom of the phone. Now these speakers are okay. Although they are stereo speakers, they sound a little tinny. When I compared them with the iPhone 10 speakers, the iPhone 10 blew them away. The sound was much more rich from the iPhone 10 stereo speakers. Also the bass kicked a little bit more. Now I know that these are only phone speakers, but there are definitely better options out there for sound if you're considering the Google Pixel 2. They're totally fine for casual use, but if you want to listen to music, I'd hook up a Bluetooth speaker. Now just as a side note, these speakers are protected very well. They have a nice metal mesh covering them. Moving on from the speakers, let's talk about the camera. So let's start out with the front-facing camera. So the front camera is an 8-megapixel shooter at f1.4. And this camera did partially surprise me. I really like the color gamut, and the images that it produces are nice and crisp and clean. Portrait mode also works very well, which is surprising. If you get this phone, you'll definitely be happy with the front-facing camera. It's very good for that selfie action. Now let's talk about the main camera. So for the specs, it's 12.2 megapixels at f1.8 to f1.4. And this camera is fantastic. Images are very high in detail and are very sharp. It really impressed me for a smartphone camera. I also really like the warm colors that this camera produces. It's very inviting and looks very good. I definitely prefer a warm look over a cold look when it comes to photos. Portrait mode also worked very well. It identified the subject and really made a nice blur around it. This phone probably is the best portrait mode out of any flagship on the market. There's no comparison of the iPhone X's portrait mode and the Pixel's portrait mode. The Pixel definitely wins. So let's talk about this camera's video. This camera does have OIS and can shoot up to 4K, and I was pleasantly surprised by its performance. It's a really good shooter. When I don't have my camera with me, this would definitely be my backup. Now the video on this camera would totally fit anyone's needs. It's great if you want to create a home movie or post something to Instagram or YouTube. I'm a big fan of the video capabilities. One thing I don't like about this camera is the inability to change the aperture and the ISO. The camera really just wants you to trust what it's doing. But the whole camera system on this phone truly makes anything else inferior. Google also optimizes their photos using dual pixel technology, so that's another reason why these photos are so good. Now the second best camera on the smartphone is probably the iPhone X, but in my opinion, it doesn't come anywhere close to the quality of this camera. I'm safe to say that the camera is the main reason to buy this phone. Now let's talk about the internals. This camera is running a Snapdragon 835 processor. Now this is not the highest end processor out there, that would be the Snapdragon 845, but it's very fast because of stock Android. Now stock Android is great. It's extremely fast and snappy, and it's the bare bones on what you need in a smartphone. I definitely prefer it over iOS and any other skin that phone makers put over Android. I also use this phone with no custom launcher, just how it came out of the box. And it's great. I have no complaints with it whatsoever. But overall, yeah, it's a really solid OS that I'm a big fan of. You can't go wrong with Android. At least stock Android. We'll find X. All in all, this phone presents a really solid package. Good design, good screen, good camera, and good specs. Also software. So is this phone worth it in 2018? Yes, it definitely is. It's still truly one of the best flagship smartphones on the market today. This phone offers a perfect balance of internal and external that I'm a huge fan of. Now if you really want to, you could wait for the Google Pixel 3, which is coming out later this year. This phone's going to have a better processor and thinner bezels, but there's also going to be a notch. For many other flagship phones, there's a compromise. Sometimes they have really good designs, but they have bad software. And other times they have really bad designs, but good software. Like I said, this phone balances really well in between these two things. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I worked really hard on it. Now I have a lot of editing to do. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed it and consider subscribing. Peace!